What's up, guys? What's going on? I'm Paul. This is Pauline Theology's Daily Devo, and we are back with another Devo because it's another day, guys. Another day, and I'm glad you're listening. We are on Amos chapter 1, verses 3 through chapter 2, verses 3. We got a bit of a read today. Hope you read it. If you haven't, go ahead and stop the tape right now. Check it out. See what it has to say. It's got a lot of stuff, man. It's a lot of stuff. So go ahead and stop the tape. Check it out. If you are already ready to go, man, hey, no delay here. Let's go and jump on into it. So what is Amos saying? What does Amos spoken? Well, he starts to give these decrees. He begins to say the formula for prophecy. Thus saith, if you're in King James, or normally, and the Lord says this. Thus saith the Lord. And then he goes into a formula for the first couple of chapters that he's going to do this thing. It's called 1 plus X is like the professional, or, what they talk about, the scholarly term for it, whenever he says one thing and then an extra thing, and that's the end of it. And so what he says is for 3 sins, for 3 transgressions against blank, were, the different places that he's going to talk about. And then he says, and for 4, I will not revoke it. All right, I will not revoke it. I guess the first thing is it. What is it? And I think a lot of people's like, says the judgment, the punishment, is what a lot of scholars believe, that it refers back to what he is about to do to the people. The fire that he's going to bring, and the destruction upon the walls that he is going to bring upon these people. So that's what he's not going to revoke. It's like it's over with. The time is done. So really quickly, it's like, and there is a time in which things are done. Like God has said enough, and he will pour out his wrath, his just wrath, on the people that we're going to see. So there is a time where we have to say, okay, hey, it's either turn or we get in trouble, because God's mercy is great. His compassion is full. But there is a time when he says that I can't hold back my wrath no longer. And so he says, for 3 sins of Damascus is the first one. And for 4, I will not revoke it. I will not revoke the punishment. Well, when he does this for all these nations that we've read today, these nations are all pagan nations. They're none of the people of God. They're not Israel. They're not Judah. So I said in the last episode that these are prophecies for Israel. That's who he's speaking to. So while Amos is speaking, he's also prophesying over or about these other nations. And these first 6 nations that he's prophesying over are pagan nations. And then recognize, let's see what it is the punishment is for. Like, why is God dealing out justice? Why is he dealing out wrath upon these nations? Well, first it says, because it says that the first nation threshed it's threshed a people with like a threshing of iron. I'd looked this up. I didn't know what threshing really was. I knew the part where they threw up the kernels and they separated, and then the chaff blew away and the good stuff stayed. But this threshing is different. It's like they take this board and they have holes in it, and then they just rub it on the ground. They just move it on the ground. Well, this one's a specific kind, a special kind, because it says of iron. And so what that does when it moves it, it's supposed to be crushing that grain under pressure, and it separates the wheat from the chaff. It breaks it, and it gets the seed that you need to do what you need to do, and it leaves the other stuff crushed. And so they were doing this, either it's metaphorically speaking, where, man, they are severely beating these humans, or they are actually like doing some kind of whipping, like with a threshing made of iron, that they would slam these boards on the backs of men with iron teeth that they would just drag upon their backs, leaving scars. Wow, that's incredibly crazy. That is some Horrible, horrible punishment. And so God says he's going to deal with the king and he's going to cut that nation off. He says in the same formula, he says that he's going to send fire upon their walls. And he said he's going to cut off the people who dwell in these lands. And he's going to, the one who holds the scepter, he's going to destroy. Another one is the people of Phoenicia or the Philistines as well. It says that they have gathered up whole refugees, and it says that they had sold them to another nation, sold them to Edom. And so another thing is the slavery is to take in slaves and then to sell those to another nation. God hates this. And so what he says is that he is going to bring punishment, fire upon that people. And he says the same thing as he said with the people before, that he is going to take or cut off the people who were in that area, the person who holds the staff or the ruler, the king of that area. He's going to destroy them. He says that. And he continues, and so we see all of these different things. One says that they broke the covenant of brotherhood. It says like the way that men are supposed to care about each other, the way that people are supposed to care about each other, they did not do that, but they treated them as less than human beings. And so it says that God will bring fire upon them. It says that he's going to take them and their princes out because of that. That's what it says. Thus saith the Lord. This is a declaration of the Lord. And so what does that have to do with anything? What does that mean? Well, I think it's important for us to see this clearly. First off, about who God is that the Lord is sovereign. And sovereign means that he's a ruler or in control of all things. Because these nations are not a part of the covenant of God. These nations do not recognize God as their king. These nations do not say that God is their God. They have other gods. But God, Yahweh, the true God, still has control and jurisdiction over all nations, whether it be the people of Israel, whether it be America, whether it be China, whether it be Philistine back then. He has sovereign control over all nations. And second, I think a characteristic of God that we learn from this is that God hates the mistreatment of people. God hates, he detests. You see, he said for these three things, he's like, you have sinned, and I was waiting patiently. But this fourth one was too much. This fourth one was beyond what I can bear. And so he says, I must bring my wrath upon you. I will not change my mind. I will not turn from the wrath that I am declaring upon you. And this is because we are devaluing the humanity of others. Every one of these people mistreated and devalued the humanity, the image of God in each of us. And so that is something that we have to remember and know about God, is that he hates the mistreatment and the devaluing of people made in his image. What do we learn about man here? Well, we see that man can be pretty detestable, and that's a sad thing to see. And you see it now in the world that we live, but we can be pretty detestable, and it's all for our own selfish desires and gains. It says in one part that the people split open pregnant women so that they can gain more land. Like, does that even make sense to you? That they would defile pregnant women in order to be able to scare or to fend off others so that they can gain their land. Man, that is horrible. That's terrible. And that's some of the things that we are seeing now, the devaluing of human beings for their own profit. We've got people that are killing babies because they value their self more than the value of human beings. We've got people trying to kill or to murder elderly people because they devalue the image of God in them because they're no longer quote unquote valuable enough or worthy enough to be kept alive. That is just pretty much too much work. Man, we've got people that are selling human beings because they don't see them as people anymore, but as objects of gratification that they can make money from. That is the hate, and this is not something new. This has been going on from the time sin entered into the world, and it is evil. That is who man is. That is who we are, and it's sad. Well, what can we do to apply these things to our lives? How can we apply these things to our lives? Well, first we got to know that God is sovereign over everything, and if we know that He is sovereign over everything, then we got to trust in His purposes and His plans. And it's hard to see sometimes when all of these things are going on, His purpose and His plans, but we've got to trust in Him. But second, we've got to do our part, and we've got to value human beings as the image bearers of God. We have to value the life. We have to value the worth of human beings because they were made in the image of God. So today, man, if you go out, you see somebody, man, recognize that they should be loved, cared for, and respected because they are human beings. Because they are image bearers of the ultimate, the wonderful, and the mighty God. May you treat others well, and may I treat others well. I'll see you guys in the next episode as we continue through Amos.